Most people think survival is about rationing limited resources and making them last as long as possible. But there's a resource multiplication strategy that can actually create abundance in survival situations by leveraging natural processes and strategic thinking to generate more resources than you consume. I'm talking about resource regeneration, the art of creating systems that produce resources rather than just consuming them. While everyone else is watching their supplies dwindle, the survivors are building systems that generate food, water, energy, and other resources on an ongoing basis. Let me give you an example that could transform your survival situation. Instead of just collecting rainwater, you set up a system that collects rainwater, filters it naturally, and stores it efficiently. Instead of just foraging for food, you create a system that attracts edible animals, cultivates wild plants, and produces food continuously. Instead of just finding fuel for fires, you create a system that processes renewable biomass and provides ongoing energy. Here's what most people don't understand about resource multiplication. It's not about having more stuff. It's about creating systems that produce what you need on an ongoing basis. The survivors understand that sustainable resource production is more valuable than any stockpile. This is exactly what I teach in When All Hell Breaks Loose, Stuff You Need to Survive When Disaster Strikes. You'll learn how to create water collection systems, food production systems, energy generation systems, and resource processing systems that work continuously with minimal input from you. But here's where it gets really interesting. Resource multiplication requires understanding natural processes and working with them rather than against them. You need to understand how to leverage gravity, solar energy, natural biological processes, and other forces to create systems that work automatically. Think about it this way. Instead of just finding water, you create a system that collects, filters, and stores water continuously. Instead of just finding food, you create a system that produces food on an ongoing basis. Instead of just finding fuel, you create a system that processes renewable materials into usable energy. The survivors understand that resource multiplication is about thinking like an engineer rather than just a gatherer. They understand how to create systems that multiply their efforts, that work while they're sleeping, and that produce more resources than they consume. The truth is, most people approach survival with a scarcity mindset. They think there's only so much to go around, and they need to make it last as long as possible. But the survivors understand that abundance can be created through intelligent system design. Here's what you need to understand about resource multiplication. It's about creating positive feedback loops where your efforts produce more resources than you invest. You need to understand how to create systems that become more productive over time, not less productive. Most survival guides focus on conservation and rationing, but they don't teach you how to create systems that multiply resources. They teach you how to make supplies last longer, but they don't teach you how to create systems that generate new supplies. The key is understanding that resource multiplication is about leverage and automation. You need to understand how to create systems that work for you, that multiply your efforts, and that produce results even when you're not actively working on them. Solar energy is a perfect example of resource multiplication. Instead of just collecting firewood, you can create systems that capture and store solar energy for heating, cooking, and other uses. Instead of just looking for dry wood, you can create systems that dry wood automatically using solar energy. Water collection is another excellent example. Instead of just looking for water sources, you can create systems that collect rainwater, dew, and even atmospheric moisture. These systems work continuously and can produce more water than you can consume. Food production systems can also multiply resources. Instead of just foraging for food, you can create systems that attract edible animals, cultivate wild plants, and even process waste into useful resources. Don't limit yourself to just consuming resources. Get When All Hell Breaks Loose and learn the resource multiplication strategies that could create abundance in any survival situation. Because the truth is, the survivors don't just conserve resources, they multiply them.